Can you go split screen? La da 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 da. It's the blah 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 BIGG Bigg Bump. La da 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 da.
Nice.
And James H A-K-E. James Hake. Blah 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 blah. What is up, everybody? It is 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Standard Time here in Los Angeles. And I have with me Bigg Bump, going to be co-hosting along with me, Bigg Bump. Thank you for joining. Tell them what we're going to cover today, because Bigg Bump brought some topics. I have some topics, too. It's MLK Day. I'm wearing my beautiful Rebel Flag t-shirt, Southern Pride. And Bigg Bump approves.
Yes.
What are we going to talk? What were we going to cover before we get started here?
I would like to cover the black version of Dylann Roof, and that's related to MLK, and also the weird Wells Fargo news that they were cutting mortgages back from whites and giving them to people of color.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I was reading up a little bit about that. You sent the article.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they want to limit their risks, but they're going to expand to minorities. I guess they're limiting their risk with poor whites,
Right?
Who aren't already in their system, and just go with their what's already working with them, and then targeting minorities.
Yeah. Make this. If they want a risk, they're about to get a risk now.
And we'll take your calls, guys, if you would like to call in. Some of you guys already on hold. But anyway, let's get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. I'm working on a national holiday, but my friend and your friend, Bigg Bump, is not working, so he gets to work for free on the Hake Report today. Nice, man.
Always.
Happy MLK Day to you.
Happy MLK Day to you as well.
And so what's your shirt say? It says California
Yes, it says California.
Republic. The People's
in the
Republic.
yeah.
With the red star.
The red star, commie star is the red California bear.
Nice.
I like this sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't worn my Confederate rebel flag in like months,
Yeah.
because I was out for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And then before that, I don't know how long it had been. And I'm like, what better day than MLK Day?
Right. Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be Lee Jackson Day around here somewhere? Maybe that's President's Day. Robert E. Lee and Stonewall
Where did they
Jackson?
put that? I don't know about that
I'll
one.
have to look that up. My resident historians with over on Odyssey can tell us. Maybe. Lee Jackson Day. January 19th, 1807. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's right around here. January 15th and 16th. Lee Jackson Day. Nice. So it's right on time. That's cool.
Right on time.
And I didn't even know it, because Hake is pretty ignorant, but we love the beautiful South. So let's get right into this stuff. It is MLK Day, guys. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Michael King. That's right. That's his born name. Tell us about, you had some MLK points that you wanted to point out.
Yeah.
And we have some like screenshots. Well, I screenshotted some of the articles that you sent, and you sent some pictures too.
Is there anything specific that you've seen that you wanted to start with?
Well, the first thing you sent me was the autobiography of religious development. Was that written by MLK?
Yeah, those were essays. That was one specific essay that he wrote at seminary school, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And it was him writing back home. Well, it was formulated around, it seemed like him writing to his mother.
Okay.
And that's where there's multiple papers. Like essays and then letters back home, letters to his sister, letters to just family in general. And that was the first thing that I did send you about the proof of him being a communist or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And you said he was one, for sure, by his own admission.
For sure, by his own admission.
At what age was he?
At 21.
21 years old.
The essay was written between September 1950 and November 1950. He was born in 29.
Okay.
And that would have made him 21. What did he do? So, in the essay, in the first part, however he was writing it, he said, I was pretty much scarred when I was about 5 years old. I remember bread lines during the Depression.
Okay.
So he was traumatized.
Don't we all?
Right.
Don't we all? My grandparents, when they lived, they were very frugal and thrifty.
Yeah, right.
Saving stuff and not pack rats, but just living very balanced lives.
Right.
And they lived long lives probably because of that.
Because of that, right. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. So that supposedly to him, he said that memory brought anti-capitalistic feelings.
Wow.
And that shocked me. Because I've never seen actual proof.
Yeah.
Of it until like a week ago. It was just a week ago.
And he was 5 years old in the breadlines?
In the breadlines, he was 5.
And he had anti-capitalistic feelings at 5? Or?
I don't know if if it was at 5, but I guess him remembering that triggered that those type of feelings. Yeah.
Because in your college years, you get angry.
Right. Yeah.
And then you think back and then just adds emotions on top of it.
On top,
and
right.
False meaning to it. Interesting.
Yeah. So that was my definite, like, when I know for sure. Martin Luther King Jr. was a commie. No doubt about it. And I'm sticking to that.
Yeah. Wow.
So that portion of what really got me. And also that he was, although he did say he loved his father, like that's what pretty much that example of his father got him into ministry.
Right.
But he was always in these letters, oh, mommy, oh, wow. Grandma, oh, this and that. I'm like, oh, man, okay. So I see the extra passion and the anger and I know, and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I know where that's coming from. He never mentioned that he specifically, other than his father, wanting to, and not forcing him to do it, but he never said anything about, his mother called him to do it. And
right.
So
he wasn't one of those who was necessarily called by his mama.
Not necessarily.
You're going to be a preacher one day.
I'm pretty sure she has something to do with it.
Yeah, it sounds like, based on what you gave the impression that he was sort of a mama's boy and a grandma's boy.
Yeah. There was another statement in there that he made about how his mother did the motherly duties, but, like it came to me as that she did the motherly thing, but she could have been doing other things. That's what I read from it. It was like a little sentence that he wrote.
Like a career other things?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
wow, so he was a male feminist. we're reading way into it maybe, but maybe not.
Maybe not. That was another thing that kind of touched me to say, hey, this guy was totally different from what we've been, told
Right.
to believe or that's thrown out to us.
Well, communism and even this anti-racism is like a mama sort of woman thing.
Right.
Being a liberal in general is a woman thing.
Right.
It's based on like feelings
Yeah.
and taking care of people.
Right.
He was all about taking care of people.
Yeah. Yeah. He never wanted that to see again, the breadline thing. He never wanted to see that again.
Right.
And
I wonder if it was really capitalism that brought those breadlines, or if it was because socialism was kind of in place from, I don't know. We didn't really have real capitalism even
Right.
back then, did we?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
I would say yes and no because, well, that's 29 and 1913 was the Federal Reserve Act, so that pretty much, split it, gave you a difference between capitalism and communism, socialism. But it, in essence, it would be, that would, if it wasn't forced, if players weren't in place,
Yeah.
if that didn't happen, it's still, if the players didn't make that happen, it could be a end game of capitalism, because in capitalism you basically, it's free market. So if that was to happen, if things didn't go right, that's what would happen.
Right.
And you would restructure and
And then people
come
would
back
just build up again.
and build up again. That's what capitalism does. So, although this wasn't really the case, the bankers got involved and
Right.
Yeah. So, that's not the case. So capitalism really didn't have anything to do with the depression itself. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about, people are trying to blame, capitalism, the housing crisis of 2007, 08 or whatever.
Right.
And the different market bubble, whatever was going on. And I'm like, that's partly because of the government meddling its fingers in the...
Always dabbling, yeah.
Trying to sell every home to... Get every black family to own a home.
Yeah.
Get everybody... all kinds of mess.
I.e. Wells Fargo.
Right. Good point. That's funny, man. Interesting. Tell me about the Federal Reserve. This is kind of a side note. Tell me about how the Federal Reserve is not capitalism.
Federal Reserve is not capitalism.
Because you made that basically as a distinction. Well, we're basically socialism at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounded
So
like.
that, because it was more of a undercover, forced by nature institution, basically, that at the pretty much dead of the night in the Christmas time, when everyone was out during the holidays, that bankers and the politicians.
Was that Woodrow Wilson?
Woodrow Wilson was the president.
And he was not a good guy.
Not at all.
Socialist, communist.
Yeah. And signing over the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, I can't remember the exact date, December 1913, in Jekyll Island. And that in essence, is not capitalism. Because our republic is based on the capitalism, that anything that's outside of that is democratic, socialist, Marxist type ideas and beliefs. So going outside and having the bankers come in and lobby and take over, pretty much take over the government financially, the financial aspect of it, and creating a monster that's just out of control.
What does the Federal Reserve do?
Nothing but print money over and over and over again.
Okay. And they're not, does the government have any representatives, or are they appointed at all? Do they appoint anybody who controls the Federal Reserve at all? I heard that it's a private institution.
It's a private institution. The actual government entity that should be anything related to this type of work would be the Treasury Department.
Okay.
That's who can, through Congress approval, create and print the money.
Okay. But the Treasury is not doing that.
But the Treasury is not doing that. The Federal Reserve is the one that's.
And you said it was an act, so Congress was in on this.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
the
they
Senate.
signed it in the middle of, like I said, in the middle of the night.
So we can't just blame Wilson. There was a whole lot of
Oh,
commies.
no. There's definitely a lot
We're
of
a
commies.
corrupt
Yeah,
country.
Right, yeah. And that was 1913.
That we elected.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And I have heard that they set interest rates for loans.
I was about to say that was the next thing. They set the interest rates.
And what does that mean?
So
okay, well, I kind of know what that means. So if you buy a house,
Yeah.
or you buy a car, or you have credit card debt,
Right.
they tell the loaning companies
Depending on
the max or the minimum or what they have to charge at this rate.
minimum that they can charge, and they have to charge at that as the
Okay.
minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. So they can just continue to rise. They can just keep setting it. And there's so many numbers involved that like the quantitative easing type things where it's so convoluted
Right.
sometimes that after my little novice knowing of things that I just hear the words and I'm like, oh, okay, I know, I kind of understand. But
Yeah. I've
yeah.
heard of quantitative easing. I forget what it is, but
yeah, when I hear it in context, then I'm like, yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah.
So they just continue to like I said, the interest rates, the printing money, they try to base it off of the market, which they're always playing with the market anyway. Even
Right.
with the stock market, they have a plunge protection team, so they know how to anything that's volatile, they'll boost it up if they need be, and try to base everything around. It's all like a facade, pretty much. Yeah,
Wow.
not pretty much. It's a facade.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that if somebody loses money or money is stolen or something, or people default on a loan,
Mm-hmm.
are banks like backed by something? Is there something that's backed by
what is
guaranteed
that
by the Federal Reserve, so they don't care if they lose?
Yeah,
if
some
they get
four-letter
screwed
word.
over. Sorry, kids.
It's like the banks itself, not the customers.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Because I was thinking the customer that FDIC or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I know the shareholders, the FDIC, they'll pay up to, if you lose something because of banks going under, your money is guaranteed to $250,000. So you're gonna lose if you're making way more, or if you have way more than that in
the
your
bank.
account. Yeah.
Okay.
The bankers, the banks themselves, all they have to do is just go to Congress and get a $700 billion bailout, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it continues. It happens all the time. Even when they're writing these bills, like the last budget, that was what, 1 point something trillion? Is that what it was? That they're in there to be covered as well. Whatever slush or whatever it is, they have portions of the bills also. So they're going to be covered mostly during those times.
People say that bankers select our politicians. Is that true?
Because again, my libertarian background. Yeah, they definitely do.
And how do they do that?
Because way
What were you about to say?
back.
Go ahead.
No.
Finish your
I don't recall now.
Okay.
Since you stopped me. No, but I was going to go way back when I think that was Waterloo between England and France, when the Rothschilds went back and said that England lost the battle. That dipped everything. Rothschilds bought everything up as bankers, and so when they purchased everything, now when they realize the story gets back to England that they actually won, the Rothschilds are the bankers. Now they're the head of, all that British Empire.
The Rothschilds basically own England.
Yes, they do own England.
Whoa. I thought it was the royal family.
The royal family, that's just a
politically
headstone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
and Waterloo, was that the Revolutionary War or nothing? It was something else. Does that have anything to do with America?
No. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because it was after that time frame. That was 18. I can't recall exactly when this was. Late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, or mid 1800s.
Right around the Civil War, either before or after.
I'm basing it around Napoleon's time frame, because that's who they were fought.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's where it started. So then at that point, they have the money. They're the bankers. They're the bankers, and they.
Are the Rothschilds Jewish too?
I think
in
name only.
Right.
Yeah.
But they are.
They'll use it.
Because there are some who isn't there one that's not, like Rockefeller or something like that?
Yeah. They're not.
Right.
They're not.
Okay.
And the Rockefellers would be the American portion or the American leg of the Rothschild dynasty, they have different factions throughout each continent or country.
So they're friends. They're kind of
They're
teammates.
Yeah. It would be like Soros having someone here and there,
right?
In every area, doing that type of bidding. But yeah, so the bankers are pretty much the ones they have so much authority, pretty much over any country, really. But in America, the bankers those are the doers.
How do they select the candidates? Did they want Trump in?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. I'll say maybe yes, because how good things would be under Trump. They know that he would be
helping the economy function properly.
They would know that. Yeah, they know exactly from his previous.
But they don't seem to mind all of the destruction of the economy.
Not at all, because now they can. And honestly, they can make more money. Also, they can benefit from it.
They can make money in any time.
Because they also fund the wars. How they fund both sides of the war.
I've heard that.
Good. Yeah.
I've heard that World War II was like a boom or boon or something for the economy. I don't know if it was because women working or because they started pumping in all this money to manufacture major weapons and inventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, it would have been.
It's so weird because that's you're funding stuff to create in order to destroy stuff. How does that make money?
Because you have to, if you're destroying whoever you're destroying, that area, that place, that country has to come back to the bankers to build back up.
So they need loans.
They're going to need loans. They're going to need that support somehow.
Okay.
And they're going to have to go back to the bankers. The bankers are going to come in. All these different IMFs and
they'll be do-gooders type people sometimes.
Yeah. In any form.
Yeah.
And it's related back to the banks. That's the only because the country or whoever were destroyed, clearly they didn't have enough to do what they needed to do. With no power whatsoever, that they would have been able to print their money just like in America, just money just being printed frivolously.
Yeah.
That they have to go to someone, and the bankers are right there, ready, willing and ready.
So they take advantage and get this worldly sort of power and worldly sort of value, because it's not even real money at that point, or it's by custom. It's allowed to be money.
Yeah.
Because everybody agrees that it's money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's it's the total opposite in what it should be, because have you ever, and it's a meme going around also, and it's real, on the Monopoly game where, it says when the money is, I think it's specifically when all money is gone you're supposed to stop the game, not play anymore. I think that's what it is. I don't think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
But where you, instead of keep making money, keep making money over and over again. I think that's what it says. Yeah, the IOUs and things like that. Yeah, so you go back and you're going into debt. But I think it just, whenever there's no more money, just stop.
In the game of Monopoly.
Game, so I think it's rule number 11. It's the very, very last rule.
Wow.
Yeah.
The 11th commandment. Wow. Yeah.
So, and then also I'll take that, the banker thing, going back to Jesus whipping the money changers. And that's, the money changers would be the bankers.
And he did that because they were in the temple.
In the temple, right.
And so they were like taking advantage. Hey, buy this bird to sacrifice. And money changers. That means changing out because people were from other countries were
I guess it would be
having to
come around to, barter or things like that also. Is that how you're saying it? Yeah.
I think they had to convert the currency. Did they have to? Is that what money changers means? I don't know what they mean by money changers.
I guess I always took it as just the exchange of hands, of the money from hand to hand. I don't know if they specifically had an exchange rate or something like that.
What did Jesus say? He said, "My house is supposed to be something of prayer." But you've turned it into a den of thieves, den of robbers,
den of something. Because I get confused with. I think Andrew Jackson said something about a den of vipers. So I always
you brood of vipers.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Cleansing of the temple. We're gonna cover this, guys, and then we'll get to your calls. Hang tight. We got to get this quote right from Jesus. Clearing of the money. Cleansing of the temple, according to Wikipedia. Yes, I'm going to Wikipedia for the Bible. Matthew 21, Mark 11, Luke 19, John 2. It's covered in all 4 of the Gospels. Jesus went into the temple of God and cast all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers. Okay, so both. The seats of them that sold doves. And he said unto them, it is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And so just selling stuff, he's calling them thieves, though. Interesting.
Yeah, see?
So was he a communist? Or was he a capitalist? I heard that capitalism is a stepping stone to communism, but we can get to that later. But we got to get this straight with Jesus. A house, John 2 calls it a house of merchandise, but he called it a den of thieves in Matthew. Matthew was the Jew, and he called it den of thieves, so Matthew knew what was going on. I guess they're all Jews, but Matthew was smart, I think, I heard.
Huh. Okay, so... So, hold on, repeat what Jesus said.
It is written, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves.
Yeah. I just, I guess it just the aspect of, I guess that's more of the but I don't know what they were doing specifically there.
Well, he said, overthrew the tables of the money changers, cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple. So they're buying and selling, and then whatever money changers is.
So I guess the temple.
He drove them out, and the sheep and the oxen. So they were selling sheep and oxen to sacrifice, I guess. In the temple, they were still making sacrifices because it was still the Old Testament.
Right. Okay.
Kind of.
That's it. I never went into detail on that.
Right.
I just know that. Get them out of there.
I know when I've bought stuff, sometimes I felt robbed. Like I bought a car. I bought a used car about 11 years ago.
But that's you.
Right. And it wasn't in a temple. It was not far out of Temple City. But it
wasn't in the temple, though.
It was Toyota Pasadena. And I ended up having to do a sign. I got screwed by Toyota Pasadena because I didn't read it. I just signed it.
Yeah.
And they sold me a car alarm that I didn't want.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
Yeah.
and they sold it to me, and I signed for it, and I knew that, you know, when you sign for something, you don't read it, you get what you pay for, but
Right.
I didn't want it. And so I got that $700 back, and they took it out of my car. I thought it was going off. It was actually my neighbor's car going off in the middle of the night by accident. I'm like, I don't like car alarms. Now I may or may not have a car alarm. But, yeah, it was almost 12 years ago, actually. And then there was something else. Like, when I braked, the rotors were kind of already messed up because it already had, like, almost 70,000 miles on it.
Oh, okay.
And it would the steering wheel would shake when you brake at high speed. I'm like, I didn't drive it like this. It was like this even before when the guy test drove it with me.
Right.
It was stick shift.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, they fixed that too. I threatened to bring the sign again.
Wow.
The sign inspiration
sign.
was from JLP because he's
okay.
boycotted
Right.
Allstate before.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I did feel robbed. So maybe like some people do feel robbed, and back then, I don't know.
Yeah. I just
It was
now
hard times.
starting to see that the temple, just the fact that it was the temple.
Yeah,
That's just it.
that's supposed to be selling stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always heard like people like in the South where I was at that, you know, they'll have individuals come in to churches to like perform or something like that. And
Yeah.
them never ask for money, or you never paid to have anything done at the church itself.
Uh-huh.
That everything would have to be more of, they call a love offering.
Right.
So it's just from the heart or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I guess that's where that comes from in a sense. But that's the only thing I can come up with, that just because it's the temple.
Right. It's a time and place for your thievery and merchandise.
Basically, yes. Yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Anything else you wanted to comment on that? Would the bankers have supported? Did the bankers support the so-called civil rights movement?
Yes, I would say yes.
The media
They don't
definitely
even-
did.
right.
The phony politicians, some did, for
It's-
sure.
You know, when we say we don't have an opinion about anything, they don't care about that.
Right.
It's about the money.
Yeah.
And
So the government,
the power.
The
with money.
bankers, if you will, were fine either way.
Either way. Yeah, they knew they would come out on top no matter what.
I saw that banks individually did support the gay thing and Black Lives Matter. You'll see them like Chase Bank on the ATM thing. It'll say Pride something
right.
something. And it was doing that years ago.
Yeah.
Before it was even really widespread. Maybe it was after the Supreme Court made their thing.
Oh, okay. Right.
But
they would be the trendsetters anyway.
Right.
They would set that culture type.
or jump on the trend
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone comes up with an idea, they'll hop right on it and fund it somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's disgusting.
Yeah. It's
But
a mess.
MLK was controversial. He was not liked by everybody,
No.
for sure.
It wasn't. Oh no.
Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. He was like I have to use Trump as an example. People liked Trump before,
Right.
but now he's more controversial than ever, and that's how I don't see MLK on that level, but in that vein,
Yeah.
in essence, yeah.
Was the media against him, though? Because the media is against Trump. Was the media against MLK?
I don't believe so. I haven't come across that to see
Right.
if that was the case or not, how they treated him, how they responded to certain things, how he responded in essays or letters or anything at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they boosted him up somehow,
Right.
you know.
I remember I played an MLK clip a week or two ago from an NBC where they're all, is it just because you're black? And he's all,
Oh, right. He was in
and
the
he
church
talked about
scene.
how,
Yeah.
He said, how come all these immigrants and others do quite well, but the blacks just can't make it? What's wrong with the blacks?
What's wrong with the blacks?
And he's all, the black people have been stigmatized because of their color.
Right.
And I don't know if that's exactly true.
Right.
And you know what? His I used to like his statement, like, who could disagree with judging based on, that communist written. I heard it was communist written, according to JLP guests. Did you hear Chad Jackson?
I missed it. I was still asleep, getting ready to get up and get out of the house. Yeah.
Because JLP interviewed Chad O. Jackson on the show.
Uncle Tom.
Yeah, Uncle Tom too.
Right.
He was on in the second hour, I believe.
Okay.
And he pointed out that the I Have a Dream speech was not written by him, but by communists, including like this Jewish guy, I think, and some of these others, maybe multiple.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
But it was clever communists just using, like I've pointed out before, they just use what's in vogue to be popular at the moment, which was Christianity and different things. And so they use that and then put in also their communist stuff. Which is what Obama and all these people do.
Right.
In fact, Christianity is so subverted in the black church and the white church and everywhere.
Right.
I don't know if there is a white church, but in the normal church, it's terrible. But now I see it as a slap in the face. I see it almost on the level of Black Lives Matter. Because, the phrase Black Lives Matter is a slap in the face because it's accusing whites of not knowing that. And same thing with the little black boys will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. But I think that even the beautiful South, they were judged by the content of their character.
Right.
They were just separated by the color of their skin, but judged according to how they were. So it was also a slap in the face because people were more about character back then, before the civil rights, than now. Thanks to him.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think he's misjudging the hearts of the Southerners who are for the segregation, I think.
So he was also, there was a story, and I think I've heard this one before, about his little white friend that he had at the time when he was about 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Growing up, and supposedly they would play every day until 6 o'clock at night in the evening. And there was one day he didn't come out to play.
The white kid?
Yeah. His father owned, I guess, a store in front of their house. And supposedly he couldn't come play again because the color of Martin's skin or something like in that, how it was phrased.
Yeah.
And, so he...
Where was he raised?
Either Birmingham or Atlanta.
Okay. I know Atlanta is where that church is that he so-called pastored.
Yeah.
Born in Atlanta.
Okay. I don't know why I wanted Birmingham.
Assassinated in Memphis. I know he wrote a letter from a jail in Birmingham.
Right. Okay.
Don't know where he was raised, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say. Early childhood.
I want to say, I think he was in Atlanta that time.
You might be right.
But that story, that's another traumatic experience that he had that, made him, it seemed to make him, that fire, whatever fire it is that he had in him that wasn't.
So the commies used that resentment from his childhood to give that black boys and white boys will be playing together.
Exactly. That's exactly the point I'm getting at. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's so mama.
It's so mama.
Because this stuff was already naturally happening, according to Chad Jackson.
Right.
That they were coming together, but naturally. And they were separating, but naturally. And it wasn't this forced integration stuff.
Yeah. They could have just easily let it be, and it would have just, and probably for the betterment, like real betterment, because look what's going on now. It would have been a natural evolution, to the integration, if instead of forcing that the integration, just naturally letting it happen and see, hey, yeah, I do want to hang out with those guys, or nah, I'll continue to stay over here and mind my own. Yeah.
What's interesting is that people make the best of their situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when we have, like, a bad president like Obama,
Mm-hmm.
or we have, like, Obamacare,
Mm-hmm.
or we have forced integration, people
Right.
make the best of it.
Yeah.
And so, like, they thrive not because of it, but in spite of it.
Right.
And so, like, when, say, I have some of my best friends, Asians and Mexicans, because I had no other choice.
Right.
And my parents didn't either, and they were dumb enough, well, whatever. I mean, they fell for the civil rights stuff a little bit,
right.
at least. They were propagandized.
Mm-hmm.
They were raised in that world.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so people are like, oh, Obamacare, healthcare, it saved lives. Because that's the job of the people who are doing the healthcare,
Right.
to save lives.
Yeah, that's
and
what they're
stuff like
supposed
that.
to do.
And so they're pretending that Obamacare saved my life, or oh, I got my best friend because of forced integration, or all these different things. The communists take credit for good stuff that happens, but when they do evil,
Yeah.
what a mess.
They don't allow or don't understand the circumstantial portion of it.
Right.
That's what you dealt. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, business owners, well, like us, when we get censored, we kind of improve because we're forced to improve
Yeah.
by the hardship of
Yeah.
the censorship. Like, we go into Rumble and we
Right,
kind of
yeah.
expand.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, when we're not allowed to say certain words, we get creative with how we say different things.
Right.
Like, when you're given restriction, it does kind of improve you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, like, doesn't make the censorship right or
Right,
the communism right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a mess.
Just roll with the punches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess, but that's a way that I guess God takes care of his children even in the evil time, so we don't have to fret about the mess.
Yeah. Right.
Let's Hake, the Federal Reserve is responsible for your shirt, says Frederick. Frederick was on the line for a second. He wanted to talk about the Federal Reserve, but he dropped off.
Yeah, he likes to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
Let's read some super chats. I have to read them. I didn't get to super chats on Friday, so I got to read some of these.
Right on.
And then we'll get to some calls and get back to more stories. Bigg Bump brought a few stories, including the black Dylann Roof. Who did he kill? He killed MLK's mom?
He killed MLK's mother. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had never heard about this story. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a second, guys. But Soul Conscious says, love your shirt, Hake. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I got it off Amazon right before maybe 1 week before the artist stopped selling it. And Amazon banned everything because it was around the Dylann Roof times.
Yeah.
And everybody was Ta-Nehisi Coates,
Uh-huh.
who's that black writer, propped up between the
Definitely.
world and me,
Yeah.
propped up by the Atlantic and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly a good writer. He might be. But I've never read his stuff, really.
Me either.
But he said, let's get rid of the Confederate flag because Dylann Roof he flew the Confederate flag and what's that R word? Rhodesian flag.
Oh,
Is that in
okay,
Africa
okay.
somewhere?
Yeah.
But it's a white country.
Yeah.
And all these other,
Tanzania. Wait, Zimbabwe? Rhodesia? Anyway, go ahead.
One
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
one of those white countries that
Right,
was subverted. And so I got it, and then it came, and then JLP was like, get me one. And so I went to order one, and it was banned.
Yeah.
Because Amazon banned everything Confederate. So evil. Thank you, Soul Conscious. Lin Yan Shin says, breathing through the mouth invariably leads to tangential rambling as it stimulates overactive flow of emotion that constantly fragments focus of the mind. That is why inner stillness is a treasure. You ever heard about that? You a mouth breather or a nose breather?
Nose breather.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's why you have inner stillness.
I guess so.
That's why you're not overly emotional. Overactive emotions. Thank you, Lin Yan Shin. Who's Your Bear 2391 says, do you believe we went to the moon like they say? I do, I guess. Yeah, I do. What do you think?
I think so as well, but there's more. I know there's a little more to it, but yeah, I think so.
Okay. Interesting. I was surprised to learn one of the guys at the Andrew from the Crucible was like, you guys believe the moon? We landed on the moon? Like he was saying, obviously we didn't.
Right.
And
right.
Owen Benjamin at Big Bear says we didn't, and it's so obvious. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Someone landed on the moon.
Yeah.
I just don't know all the pieces, but I know that there were two separate events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hassan, do you say that we did not land on the moon and that it's obvious?
Correct.
So we did not.
We did not.
Put yourself on screen if you can. I don't know
Show
if you
your
can.
face.
You might be able to. When did you start believing this, or did you always?
I think I watched some sort of a conspiracy documentary on Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's the one who did
Clockwork
Space
Orange.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange.
And he also did that one that I did see and I liked it. I saw it later. After JLP said that he went to that hotel.
Oh,
The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining. I saw that movie.
Nice.
And I like it because it's so like. Well, I like hotels. I like the aesthetic of a nice hotel lobby.
Yeah.
And that's a nice hotel.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the real one that
Yeah.
they were
Right,
taped
right,
it in.
right.
But anyway. So Stanley Kubrick, he's the one who forged, who did the fake moon landing footage?
That's what they say. The conspiracy and the documentaries and all the stuff that has came out is 2001: Space Odyssey came out around the time that, I guess we were in some sort of race with
Right.
Russia
Right,
and
yeah.
like who would get there first. So, according to these conspiracy reports, the president at the time was like, "Wow, this movie looks like we're already in space. Who did this? Let's just get this guy."
Was it JFK who saw that? Or
I think it was either
Him or the previous? Who was
or
prior?
Nixon, right? Or no?
Nixon would
No,
be
no,
after.
I'm way wrong.
It would have to be JFK.
Yeah, that probably sounds right. Because I know that film came out in '69, but they were filming all through, I think, 66, 67, 68. I think it took some time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so because there's a lot of things that came out where it's like, why would the flag be waving if there's no,
Yeah.
if there's no gravity or whatever. There's all these theories.
Yeah.
or wind or something like that? Is
The
there
wind.
air? Is there air on the moon?
I'm not sure if
But
there's
when they
air or
set it,
vacuum.
it had a
pole.
side pole, right?
Yeah.
And they set it, so it had to be undulating.
Yeah.
After that, a little bit.
It did move, I guess, a few times or throughout the the filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
don't know.
there's all these theories.
It's
Wouldn't
a
it
lot.
undulate forever because there's no friction? Undulating means waving,
To
right?
wave.
If you
Okay.
set it down and it starts to wave a little bit, it
Yeah.
would seem like it would wave for quite some time. Obviously, there's some friction because
Yeah.
it's attached to the thing. But it would undulate for quite some time, I think,
During the filming, it was moving.
the whole time.
Every time I recall seeing it,
Yeah.
it did waver.
So that's natural. That would make sense, right? It's probably waving to this day, if it's still up.
It's still up. The one thing I do know, I don't know the specific site or the area where it comes back to, that there's supposed to be like reflectors on the moon that
Like mirrors.
Yeah, like mirrors. If you laser that you can shine from here, it'll reflect back to Earth. So that's another reason why I say, yeah, it did happen
We must
But
at some point.
at some point.
Yeah.
The Kubrick thing,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I believe that was it was the same program, part of the same program, but that was the footage that needed to be shown.
So the footage was fake, but the landing did happen
Yeah,
at
in
some point.
some form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in
And-
some form.
And that's
So you say the footage is fake, though?
Some of it is. I think some is not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's 100% Kubrick's.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what would be so terrible is if Buzz Aldrin, like,
Yeah.
I think there's actually some interviews where he's sort of alluded to some things.
Yeah.
But
Buzz Aldrin did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what would be really horrible is if they did go,
Right.
but because of the, what is that called? Like end of the world when radiation or whatever. Like they claim that maybe the footage got compromised or something. Mm-hmm. And in order to just prove like, you know, that they went and filmed this whole thing. Right. And it would just be horrible if you were like Buzz or any of the people that it's like you're watching this footage, you're just like, I know that this is not real, but we did go. And it's like,
so the Van Allen belts erased the footage, maybe?
That's what.
There's theories on that the radiation compromised the footage.
I thought they live streamed it. No.
That was that Red Bull hoax thing.
Commercial.
Well, some people think that's real too. I don't know.
So they didn't live stream it.
I don't know.
They were banned on.
They live streamed Didn't they talk on air? Didn't they talk over the phone live?
Yeah,
though?
I don't know if that was.
They ran a telephone line from here to there.
Yeah,
the cellular.
My only question is, if we did, why haven't we been back since?
I don't know if we have or haven't, but they just don't make stuff to the quality anymore today than they did back then. You know, like different things are just not made the same.
Yeah, I don't even think there was a focus to do it. It was like, you do it and it's done. I don't know.
And who cares? But honestly, like,
I know what you mean.
What's so good about having landed on the moon? What purpose did it serve, other than bragging rights?
Well, science is different.
I mean, you do learn some stuff.
Yeah.
What did we learn that was useful?
I mean, I just think overall the science portion of it, the technology, you know, the different.
Oh, the technology that it took to be able to go there.
Yeah, the building of it to, you know, because
that can be useful.
Certain parts expand to other things.
Right.
You know,
just like a war creates need to invent, or whatever you invent in times of need.
Yeah, you were saying that.
And so you have like this artificial ego need to go to the moon, and some useful things come out of that. Okay,
right,
I can see
like
that.
Live streaming.
Right. And excellent cell phone signals.
Right.
But they had no mountains in the way, right? Because it was all the way up to the moon. Unless the moon was underneath the world when we were trying to talk to them.
You can.
It's terrible.
Exactly. Maybe it's just underwater. It's, you know, some people say the real outer space is underwater, you know. It's all inside.
Hake isn't open-minded, says Rob Nunn. I'm so open-minded, my brain leaked out. Anyway.
I have an
Hake
interesting
is shilling
point
for NASA.
Go
ahead.
Though. For later.
Okay.
For later, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Hassan. I appreciate it,
yes,
man.
sir. Thank you.
I think that, there is another super chat on Odyssey. That Sob, sorry, kids. Says, shout out to the D Live chat. Yes, indeed, we shout out the GD Live chat. Thank you, Beta Tester and Noah's Ark Kansas substreaks. I don't know if I can even receive diamonds on D Live or anything like that, Ninja Guineas. But let's get to William in California. He's been on hold forever.
Cool.
And then we'll get to a break and back to the stories and more calls, of course. William in California, you're on the line with Bigg Bump and Hake. Happy MLK.
Hey, man, good morning.
Hey.
Good morning to you guys.
Morning.
Hey, Bigg Bump, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Happy MLK Day to you, man, and happy Lee Jackson Day.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. You know, you remember this just before the midterms, they were all going, save this democracy.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a democracy. This
I
is
agree.
a republic.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. And I want to give a hats out to you guys. Your apparel, that Dodger hat, even though I'm a Giants fan, that Dodger hat is on point.
Nice.
Flag, that's a nice Confederate flag. You got that from Amazon?
Right.
Amazon?
Yeah, I got it from Amazon before Amazon banned it.
Man, I need one of those.
Yeah, I know.
But put your hand up. Remix. Remix. William from California in the house. Boom, 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 boom. Watch out, mother suckers.
Oh, gosh.
Here's the deal. Woodrow Wilson was pretty bad, and Martin Luther King, I always thought was a socialist. This is a good subject. I thought he was more like a socialist, but communist is starting to look pretty obvious, James.
So you thought of him as a socialist as distinct from a communist, meaning he was a peaceful communist.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was not for the guns.
No.
For the government taking the guns.
Very liberal.
Shooting people up.
Very liberal.
Yeah.
But they like to respond to these things, how dare you talk about the blacks? And, there's a story I sent you about a guy, this rapper from San Francisco. He's got bodies all the way from Kansas to Vegas to Sacramento and back. And he's got nerve enough to have an attorney that we went to school with, another lowlife who's going to sit up there with all these bodies laying all over the ground and say, it's all irrelevant, But, blacks don't think you're supposed to talk about them.
Yeah.
Right.
But last week, I have a history of calling in and being followed up by your favorite caller and everything, and doesn't really understand the meaning of capitalism, socialism, or communism. She likes to run around with her initials and all of that, but it's not impressive,
Maze.
How about this? GBBW, that's goofball black women, yeah. I'm going to say this. Leaders don't come from liberal circles.
Why do you say that?
They just don't. It's mama's boys.
Yeah, but they're certainly propped up as leaders, though. Obama.
Yeah, they do. A lot.
Yep.
That's very interesting. You pull up those are from college, from Martin Luther King. Those essays, what are those?
Right. Yeah, they were essays.
Yeah, it was an autobiography of religious development is the one that Bigg Bump pulled from to show that he hated capitalism.
That's on point.
Mm-hmm.
Because they always say, why do we give other countries money? Well, you guys were just talking about that. When you have a war, a country shall be rebuilt.
Right.
Germany, Japan, Iraq. It is
the South.
It is kind of like capitalism. It is. But you think when the blacks call in and say they don't give us anything, no, you get plenty. You just don't have a country to invade. So that's why you have to know the difference between a refugee and an illegal alien or an immigrant.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of these people that call in and talk about some of these things, they may not understand them. But you covered quite a bit, Bigg Bump, with that Martin Luther King information at that first 20 minutes of the show. Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was it needed some light shined on it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a cousin that moved to Texas, and she says there's a white racist woman next door to me, and I'm like, whoa! How do you know that she's racist? Maybe she just doesn't like you. Right. And it has nothing to do with color.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as
Maybe
that.
it's because you relocated from California to Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that people are not liked.
Yeah.
And it's not just because
I mean,
you're black.
if I have a racist person living next door to me, which I don't know, I can't read minds. If I did, James, what could I do about it? Come up with an initial to identify that person?
Yeah, man. Whites are not even hated because they're white. They're hated because they have the values that go against the false values of the world.
They're hated because of an agenda.
Yep. Yeah.
They're hated because of an agenda.
Yeah.
And we keep bringing up this insurrection thing. It's not going to stick to Trump. It's over.
Yeah, I know.
It's over. You had your opportunity. And look at your First Amendment. I have to say this every time I call. The people have a right to participate. Okay? They have a right.
I know.
To address the government for a redress of grievances. Look at your First Amendment. There was no insurrection. It was
I don't
property damage.
I don't know if we have a First Amendment anymore. Just like I don't really know if we have a Second
They're
Amendment.
trying to take it away, James.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
In practice, it's not respected.
I just said what I said because I want to.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's still a little bit of it left.
True.
You can respond. You guys can respond like I said you would do Friday. It's just like a trap door. You walk in and get the lettuce, and the trap door closes. Maze, you called in and fell into it. Who's next? What about the blacks? Show that clip I just sent you in the email about this guy that got all these bodies laying around. He has a black attorney at the end of the video. It says it's all irrelevant. Bodies laying all over the ground, and then it's irrelevant?
Terrible. Well, I appreciate it, William.
You guys
it's good
have
to
a
hear
good
from you,
week.
man. All right, you too.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
All right.
I will get to more of your calls. We are over the top of the hour. Which song do you want to play first, Bigg Bump? Which song do you want to play first? We can play one now and one at the end of the show.
Whichever. Let's go, Brandon.
All right. We're going to play Let's Go, Brandon by Bigg Bump along with
CarlosRossiMC and Dan Riz.
Nice. And we'll be right back for hour 2. Hang tight, guys. Enjoy, you musical Philistines. It's not Hake music, so I probably won't see as much complaints. See you soon, guys.
Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, let's go, Brandon.
What that mean to me? Let me see. Worst division that I ever seen. Pushing fetch juice on the fiends, on the pure blood state on my team. These vampires coming for our kids. Want my life? Why is that wanna live? How much worse is it gonna get? FJB, only God forgives. Trainings raping girls in the schools. Let's get it cracking, cause this is nuts. 44 play up for fools. The cover up, this so corrupt. This old man being good for what? That's the girls he always touch. Y'all sold yourself for $600. Man, I really think I had enough. This lovely marinette is a favorite pet of the one and only 1%. Can't you see it yet? They done cut the check. Better get right or get left. Who's Brandon? What's he planning? Man, pass me that 45. Not Mr. T, only you and me. Gonna make it happen if we wanna stay
Let's
alive.
go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Everybody shouting, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. For the weapons that the Taliban was handed. Come on, man. All those Americans that they left us stranded. Killed our troops because Brandon poorly planned it. Rest in peace. Somebody tell me where they at. He's the worst of all time. That's a fact. We need to bring America back. I hate this inflation. Losing all my patience with the administration. Pushing vaccination with ultra regulations. Always on vacation. Fight back with no hesitation. No indoctrination. It's an abomination. Feel the frustration. Gotta save this nation. Best believe I see the tyranny. But God is on my side, so there's no fear in me. No fear. Puro Vato Alpha, what up, Chingo? Blink, beta, 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 that two's on. Yo, team, let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB. Let's go, Brandon, what that mean? Let's go, Brandon, FJB.
You made your bed, now lay in it. Here's a My Pillow promo to save with it. Cross a Rubicon, you know no limits. All malarkey, all gimmicks. President name only, get just a pawn. It might be a speech, but you Babylon. Grab my phone, find the app, turn Babylon. This America, not Babylon. Made matters worse than Afghanistan. A quagmire turned to quicksand. Country fed up with shenanigans. Shake and bake, Let's go, Brandon. Every mandate protest get louder. My kids off limit, safety off sour. Obama sub fill in the hour. Fake White House and Ivory Tower. Every step you take becomes a meme. Dirty deeds for a scoop of ice cream. Mercy me, things ain't what they used to be. We under siege. Open borders, illegal orders, a two-tier system, but we ain't hopeless. Just stay focused, stay cocked and loaded. Let them know it. Let them know.
Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. What that mean? Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
Wasn't that nice, guys? Thank you, Bigg Bump and CarlosRossiMC and Dan Riz one for the Let's Go Brandon song.
Yeah.
Which is nice, right? We love Brandon. Don't you?
He's the best.
Kevin Howe asked, is this a parody? And this song makes me want to say the soft version of the word. I don't know what that means. Frog Eyes sure sounds different on this album. Whatever, man. It's not. Finally, some good music, says John F. Good call, William, says John Zimmer. Isn't that nice? FJB. Forget Joe Biden.
Forget Joe Biden.
Forget him.
It's just appropriate right now, especially. That's why I sent it to you, because of all its forgetfulness of all these so-called classified documents. Also.
I know, huh?
Yeah.
He's I take classified documents very seriously. He takes them all right. He seriously takes them. Oh my gosh, the lines are full, guys. Thank you, Bigg Bump, for sharing the music. We'll have another Bigg Bump song, or it's not a song, it's a rap, coming up at the end of the hour here. I got another couple of super chats to read through here. Somebody says, Hassan, who's your bear 2391? I didn't know Hassan was so based. Get on his level, Hake. 2 S's in Hassan. 2 S's. But thank you, Who's Your Bear 2391. Mad World says FDIC insures deposits, quote unquote, up to $250,000. Less than 1% is actually covered. London, not part of the UK, can't have a monarch. Central banks take your cash, give you an IOU, and sell imaginary securities. Small banks, better. They loan for real productive investments. Interesting. Thank you, Mad World. And
exactly.
Sounds like Bigg Bump agrees with that. Man, terrible.
Yeah.
Double check the super chats on Odyssey. We're doing fine on Odyssey. Greenwall says Rhodesia was multiracial and not especially racist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Let's get to Thomas in Oklahoma, who wants to talk about Nixon and the moon. Thomas, thank you for calling, man. How are you doing? You're on with Bigg Bump.
Hey, can Bigg Bump. Nice to talk to y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. Was that Bigg Bump? Was that your music that played during the break?
Yes, it was a collaboration, but yes.
It was pretty good. I mean, Thanks. I was listening to my phone, so I couldn't tell, but I don't know, maybe like a little bit more production. Do you guys produce it yourself, or do you pay somebody to mix and master?
That was someone else. I can't recall who the person is. It's a conservative producer, like a MAGA producer. But yeah, neither of the three of us produced that actual track.
All right. Well, I mean, it's not bad, but I would just suggest maybe a different mix and master.
Okay.
But
thanks.
That's my unprofessional opinion.
Yeah, right on. I appreciate that. And
Yes,
it's on all streaming
Uh,
platforms out there. Just FYI, if anyone is interested.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a follow.
I pulled it by YouTube. Let's Go Brandon, official lyric video by Dan Riz1, RYZ, CarlosRossiMC, and Bigg Bump from November 2021. You like rap music, Thomas, in Oklahoma?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
rap
getting a
music-
little bit tired of conservative rap. I'm not going to lie, like MAGA rap.
Sure.
Because it's like over, the industry's so flooded with it and was flooded since like 2020. But
I understand that.
but yeah, I actually made a song myself. I sent it to y'all, but anyway, I'm not gonna plug myself.
You're a rapper too?
Yeah,
Are you black or white?
I'm white.
Okay. Nice. Are you
I play
normal
music
white?
in general? I mean, I guess I live in an RV. Is that normal white?
That's pretty normal. What did you say? I was talking over you when you said something.
Oh no, I was just trying to get to the point. I wasn't trying to take up too much of y'all's time.
Go
I
ahead.
was just trying to get to my point about Nixon.
All right.
So moon landing was 1969, right?
Okay.
We
Thank you.
haven't been back since.
So
They
we
said
only went
lost
once?
it. Yeah. Well, they said there was a couple, but they said there was a few moon missions, but it was all in like a few years period. It wasn't, we haven't gone back in a long time. They said we lost the technology, and that's from NASA officials. That's from
Yeah.
NASA scientists saying on camera that we lost the technology to go back to the moon. Which anybody who has a rational mind can see that that's insane. With how much technology we've advanced in the time period, from 1969. The fact that also that we can be on a slight delay, like when we're watching live on YouTube, there's a slight delay.
For sure.
So Nixon
More than
took a
slight.
live phone call. Yeah. Nixon took a live phone call from the moon. And it you can look it up
Oh,
on
so
like there's
Nixon.
It was Nixon. Okay.
But it was under
Yeah.
JFK that we started the try to?
right, but
And then
Nixon,
Lyndon B. Johnson,
Nixon
we
was
tried to-
president during the
Actual.
during the Cold War, we were fighting the Russians. That's why the whole moon landing thing, that's what a part of the other conspiracy is, that we were trying to say that we went to the moon before
Russian.
Right.
anybody, the Russians or anybody else. But beyond that, you have to think about this from a rational perspective. Look this up. Anybody who's listening, look this up. And there's .gov websites that admit Nixon in 1969 took the longest phone call in world record, like in history, because he was talking to Neil Armstrong on the moon. Like, I can't call somebody who's on a mountain somewhere sometimes.
Right.
And you're telling me that he took a live phone call in 1969 from the moon. That Neil Armstrong, literally, look, if they say that
But
this
there's
is
nothing
fact,
in the
like
way, though. With a mountain, there's a mountain in the way.
the Van Allen radiation belts. You have to go through the Van Allen radiation belts to get to the moon.
But a radio wave or whatever can go through those, can they, or not?
They would cause a
Sunlight
lot of
makes it through.
distortion. Think about the Earth. It's going through that and then going through the Earth's atmosphere. Do you really think that's possible in 1969 when we have problems getting service, out in the country?
But we have problems because of different terrain, but there's no terrain between the moon and us. It's just a bunch of atmosphere.
As far as I know, there wasn't any giant satellite where Nixon was taking the phone call from the White House. I'm pretty sure it was at the White House.
Uh-huh.
So, and
Maybe it
I'm
was
pretty sure
patched-
they don't have any
maybe it was
giant
patched through
satellites
from.
there.
It might have been patched through from Houston.
Yeah, but think about how insane that concept is. That it's coming from the moon to somewhere and then being patched through to the president in 1969, and he's talking to him like it's live. Like, if you go back and listen to the phone call, it's like almost no delay. So,
interesting.
I mean, I think that blows the whole thing wide open. If you just look at that from an
But
objective,
Nixon wouldn't lie to us. He was a great president, right?
Sorry, I got a little respiratory thing going on, so I'm coughing.
Oh, no worries. But wasn't Nixon a great president? Was he one of the best?
No. What?
I thought Nixon was one of the best presidents that we've had.
No.
Reagan, and Trump.
No,
Top three in our times.
JFK was one of the best.
Really?
That's why he was killed.
There may have been some good things about him, and maybe that's why he was killed. I don't know.
Even though he ran as a Democrat.
Democrats didn't used to be as bad as they are now. That's for sure. They probably were. Maybe they were better than the Republicans at one point. But anyway, I don't want to get off base on. I want to stick with what you're about. What do you say, Bigg Bump, on this?
I get what you're saying, but
Is it possible that they did take a phone call from the moon to the Earth?
It's possible, but in the fashion that Thomas, right?
Thomas from Oklahoma.
He's speaking. I understand what he's saying. That it's just like
there would have been a delay.
Like you and I talking. I don't think it would have been that.
Yeah.
That, and I don't know for sure. I think I know what he's talking about. I've never heard the tapes or recordings of it, but I'm pretty sure I know what he's talking about.
I did hear that they took a phone call. I haven't heard it either.
Yeah.
I've heard clips like, that's one small step for man,
right.
One giant leap for mankind.
Right.
And that's the iconic thing.
Right, it is, yeah. So I'm not...
Those whites back then, so poetic.
Right. Yeah, it's something.
And the media loves that.
They do, yeah. But yeah, I can see it both ways at satellite relays.
Yeah.
That direction that you were saying, moon, satellite, possibly more than one satellite to control tower in Houston.
Also, can I mention one more thing?
So Bigg Bump sees what you're saying, but he could also see it's possible to have done it, and he knows stuff. He's smart.
Could I mention one more thing before we get off the phone?
All right.
It's called Project Fishbowl. It's a government operation like Project Paperclip. You can look it up. And it happened a few years prior to the moon landings. And basically what it was high up in the atmosphere missile and nuclear testing. They were shooting missiles way up into the atmosphere. They actually shot a missile at the moon, and they hit the moon. You can look this up. And they said it rang like a bell for a week.
It rained like a bell? Oh, it rang like a bell. So we heard it. Here on Earth, we heard when we dinged the moon?
Whatever technology they used to pick up the vibrations, from hitting it.
So our missile...
But they fired a missile at the moon.
And our missile passed those Van Allen belts.
That's if it hit the moon, then it would have to. If the moon is where they say it is, which is beyond low Earth orbit, past the Van Allen radiation belts, it would have to go through that. But I don't believe it's that far.
Oh, okay. And so it rang like a bell for a week.
Right.
And that was Project Fishbowl. Had you heard of
Project
this?
Fishbowl.
I've heard of Fishbowl. I didn't hear that. I didn't know about the missile to the moon. That portion I didn't know. I'm familiar with Operation Fishbowl.
Was it to mess with our weather? Or anything
I think that's part of it, and then just to weather, and also
I don't know if shooting the moon was Project Fishbowl, but Project Fishbowl happened prior to the moon landing, and they shot a bunch of missiles in the air. But there was a time that they did shoot the missile, or the moon with a missile, and it rang like a bell for a week. And that's apparently scientific data. That's actually government,
I've never heard that.
Data, so.
But Fishbowl, I'm kind of familiar with them manipulating, and it was manipulating the weather and detonating nuclear activity, creating nuclear activity throughout the different portions of the atmosphere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that how they came up with EMP bombs?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Interesting. Well, I appreciate your call, Thomas.
Maybe that is it.
Yeah. Okay. And I really appreciate you taking my call. Bigg Bump, keep your music up, man. Keep going. If you have any males listening right now, if you have a passion or a hobby, don't let anybody shame you for your passion or your hobby. Some people don't like rap. Some people, don't like I like building models. That's what I got into recently, and it helped me, center myself.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you, Thomas. Take care, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, Hake and Bigg Bump.
No, thanks,
And
you too.
Hassan.
Nice. Right on. Adios.
Adios.
Bye. Shout out, Hassan. Let me get to Denny in Bulgaria. He wants to talk about forced integration in Bulgaria. Denny, thanks for holding. You're on with Bigg Bump and Hake.
Mr. Hake, thank you for taking my call. Mr. Bump, I hope you're doing well.
Thank you. I am. Thanks. You as well, man.
I'm glad to hear. Mr. Hake, I was listening to your program. I had no idea you had, quote-unquote, forced integration in your country.
Yep.
Well, that's sad to hear because during the time of communism and when the Soviet Union occupied Southeastern Europe, we had the same issue. For example, the most popular one was when they often built military facility, when they trained young soldiers, and they built, how do you call it, like a school for teachers, but only for women. So they basically built it next to the military facility so that the poorly educated teachers can mate with the poorly educated soldiers, generating poorly educated generation.
Wow.
That was about 6 years ago, and right now I'm stuck with their children and their grandchildren. So not going well. But definitely forced integration is an absolute cancer to society because everything that is forced, in my opinion, of course, Mr. Hake, Mr. Bump, I'm certain you can correct me if I'm wrong, everything that is forced in a social aspect is wrong because let's take this program, for example. Honestly, I wouldn't have called if I wasn't adoring your program, if I didn't find it remarkable in any way. But I do, and I really like the content, so this is why I'm doing it.
Right.
But you cannot force me to do it.
Yeah.
It's simply like nobody can force you to take my call. It's not forced. It's simply natural because two people or more people from, even from other side of the globe, have something in common. As long as it's not forced, it's always easy going. And this is why it's better, because you have no idea the horror and the hell that came out of those forced marriages. The young women that were trained to be teachers and the young men that were trained to be professional soldiers. The men, most of the time, of course, not all of them, but the huge majority ended up being alcoholics, beating their wives, beating their children. I'm not saying it's one-sided, of course. I'm not saying that the men were monsters and the women were angels. That's not what I'm saying. But that happened for one reason or another, and the children grew up in a horrible environment. And when a child grows up in a horrible environment, you cannot expect to be a decent person. Might happen, of course, but it might not. And most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah.
Certainly this forced integration, as you said it, is absolutely wrong. It's not only it's wrong, it's dangerous for any community because Bulgaria is, as we call it here, a crossroads country. It's right between Asia and Europe, so there are people from all kind of backgrounds. You cannot really force someone to talk to another person. If I find it suitable, I will. If I don't, I won't. And vice versa, of course. So every time that something like this is forced, it backfires. It's absolutely dangerous. And there is nothing good in it because it doesn't work like that stuff.
I totally agree, man. If forced integration and all that stuff, it's so like mama trying to get along now. Whereas the father is like laissez-faire, hands off, lets you do your thing. Forcing people to, even with the moral force stuff, it's kind of a misguided mama thing because God doesn't treat us like that. He lets us suffer and die. So I agree with you, man. Do you have anything to add, Bigg Bump?
Yeah, I was. It's still, even though it's not economic, but in the sense it is, it's free market.
Right.
Leave people alone. that, if that's what you want to do, it shouldn't be forced. You let people fall by the wayside, or walk the straight and narrow, basically. But yeah, I agree with you on it. The definitely forced integration just causes so much havoc. It's evident that that's what comes from it, basically. Yeah.
Division.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicion. We have more of that than ever, seemingly. Terrible.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. And may I simply say a few words if I have but a moment?
Sure.
Because I was listening to your program about the moon landing as well. Not that I know much about the moon landing, of course, but because I'm born like 32 years ago, so I wasn't there. But those people who don't believe in the moon landing, from my personal view, of course, maybe I'm wrong, people who didn't have much interaction with either the Soviet Union or countries from former Soviet Union. I don't know about if the movie that they presented was real or not, but there is absolutely no way the USSR would have admit that the United States was the first there if they weren't. Back then, the USSR had a technology to calculate the parts in the ship that landed on the moon, Apollo 11. And that ship landed. And this is why the USSR admits that they lost the space war.
Interesting.
That happened. And there is no way that you cannot force the USSR at that time or Russia now to admit something that didn't happen. That happened. So the United States won the space war. There's absolutely no question about that. So just because there is a joke here in Europe, of course, in a humoristic way. Russians landed on the moon and they started painting the moon red. And the astronauts called Houston and said, "We have a problem. The Russians are painting the moon red." And the station from Houston said, "Okay, just call me when they're almost done." So the astronauts called again sometime later and said, the moon is almost red. What are we going to do now? And the person from Houston said, "Pick up the white paint and paint Coca-Cola on it." It's like an advertisement.
Pick up the white paint and paint
the
over
white
the red?
Paint and paint Coca-Cola on the red moon.
Oh, that's funny.
Gotcha.
America. And Coca-Cola is not so good anymore.
Yes.
That's such a great company.
So,
American
without
company.
any shadow of a doubt, that happened.
Nice.
So there is no question about it. And really, I just found out that you had this post-integration thing. I'm terribly sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
It never ends well. Nothing forced. If you force it economically and if you force it on a market, it might work because the market is, as we say, a living organism.
Right.
So basically, if you force something, you cannot force it because it's not going to accept it. But in a social aspect, if you force it, it might happen, but it won't work. It never works.
Yeah.
It simply doesn't work like that.
It's just twisting and deforming the culture. Interesting, man. Sixto Shortwave says, "Well, I laughed, Denny." It took me a second.
Definitely took me a second.
It's an old joke, but it is a rather splendid one.
Coke is capitalism and Pepsi is communism. They're both commie capitalism now.
Could you please repeat that, sir?
I said Coca-Cola is capitalism and Pepsi is communism. But I say they're both commie capitalism now. But Pepsi wasn't Pepsi like, I don't know. I feel like Pepsi was more communist. and Coke was more capitalist back then. I could be wrong.
Might be. I'm not certain. As far as I know, Coca-Cola gained the upper hand during the Second World War because they had a government contract to supply the soldiers with this beverage.
Yeah.
But, of course, I might be wrong. This is at least what I have studied, so maybe it is. With that said, Mr. Hake, I know how many callers are waiting. I would like to wish you the best. Kind regards to your colleagues, wisdom, health, and stay safe, sir.
Thank you, Denny. Good to hear from you. Take care, man.
Bye. Likewise. Goodbye, sir.
Denny in Bulgaria. Geronimo says, right, they didn't force the CCCP to admit that they lost the space race, space war. They deceived the CCCP that they lost it, says Geronimo. Nice. Maybe so.
Anything's possible.
Let's get to one more call before we get back to your stories.
Okay.
Ron in Tennessee, speaking of this forced integration stuff, has a question for us. Ron in Tennessee, you're live with Bigg Bump and Hake. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You're coming in really rough. Are you on a speakerphone, man? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
It's a little bit
Can you hear
better,
me now?
maybe. That's better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have some question about your topic of forced integration. What was your take on it?
We shouldn't have forced integration. It was a bad thing.
Okay. Explain to me, give me the historical points of why.
Historical
I got
points.
my own take on it. Being in the 60s, I grew up here in the South, being in my 60s, and I grew up with a grandfather who was a Garveyite. I know you guys that's probably over your head. You probably
Marcus Garvey?
No, that's correct. What do you know about Marcus Garvey?
I think was Marcus Garvey one of the guys who kind of
Don't think
was
now, be sure.
Hold on, man.
Don't
Wasn't
think, be
was
sure.
Hey, let us talk. Did he mentor Obama? Or am I confusing him with somebody else?
No, Marcus Garvey was the Pan-Africanist.
Oh, okay.
Pan-Africanist.
All right.
You know, when they
What was it? What did you say?
Pan-Africanism.
A what?
Pan-Africanism.
What is that? That was
I thought you said you're a Marcus Garveyite.
I said my grandfather was, son.
Oh, okay.
Listen carefully, please. Listen
All
carefully. We can talk together. We can't. We can dance together.
Your
We can't
grandfather
talk.
was a Marcus Garveyite, but he never told you about Pan-Africanism?
Well, I knew it was a made-up word. Pretty much, Garvey. It's sort of like Garvey started a movement. Had over 600,000 followers.
What
More
movement was
than
that?
NAACP.
What movement was Marcus Garvey's movement? Did it have a name?
Well, it was basically a movement to uplift black people economically.
That sounds.
And he was railroaded by the NAACP, white liberals, and so on. He was an admirer of Booker T. Washington. But that's neither here nor there. He was definitely for the uplift of black people, same as Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass. And, they came up with a conspiracy to get him deported, but Garvey is not who I want to talk about. My grandfather was, I remember being a young man in the 60s and doing the civil rights movement. My grandfather was like, he always asked, he was a man ahead of his time. He was born before the turn of the century in the 1890s. And he was he was pretty much against a lot of the civil rights movement at the time. We called it integration mad Negroes. And the question we thought he was, being young, and I had brothers who were teenagers at the time. I was like 10, but we thought he was crazy. Man, this is a great movement. But he always asked one question: what was the contingency plan once integration happens? And that was never answered because, the movement was pretty much taken over with progressives and liberals. Martin Luther King was just pretty much a mouthpiece for the movement. You had a lot of blacks that were, pretty much against the movement, but they weren't the ones that had the microphone. And I look back at my grandfather now. I said he was one heck of a man, because now I look at it. I look back at the civil rights movement. There was no economic contingency. You know, most conservatives think that the left are afraid of black conservatives. What the left hates more, is scared of more, is black capitalists. Would you agree?
Say again? The left hate more is what?
Hey man, am I wasting my time though? I actually talking. I mean, if I am, just go ahead and hang up.
Answer my question, man. Just be patient with us.
Now, what was the question again?
You said the left hates what more?
The left is more afraid of people. You know, conservatives think, or they're more afraid of black conservatives. They're not pretty much afraid of black conservatives. Black conservatives have been around for years. But what the left is afraid of more is black capitalists.
Black capitalists?
Because they can't control capitalists that way.
Do you follow what he's saying, Bigg Bump?
I see what he's saying, but a black conservative would be the same as a black capitalist.
Well, really?
A black conservative would be the same as a black capitalist.
Also, you can pretty much say a lot of rappers, you know, they might not be conservative, but they're definitely capitalists, aren't they?
Conservatism would be capitalism.
I asked you a question.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Would you say they're more capitalists, or would you say they're conservative?
Say it again?
Black rappers, are they more capitalist or conservative?
I said hip-hop artists. Would you call them, you know, that a lot of them that started companies?
Liberals don't care about hip-hop artists?
Say what?
Liberals don't care much about hip-hop artists.
I know.
They're not afraid of them, though. You said they're afraid of them. They're not afraid of them?
I said they're more afraid of black capitalists, dude.
Yeah, and I said that.
Not just rappers. I just threw rappers out there as being more in line with what they identify with.
Check this out. I said that black conservatives are black capitalists. I didn't say black capitalists were black conservatives.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
good
most
point.
definitely.
Huh?
Oh, I agree. If you're pretty much conservative, yeah, you're going to be a capitalist.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But
That's what I said.
A lot of, you got a lot of hip-hop artists that pretty much don't go with politically conservative line, but they're definitely capitalists. Would you agree?
Yes.
Thank you.
But what does that mean?
I know you would.
You said thank you, but what does that mean?
So say that again.
You said thank you, but what does thank you mean? What did you say behind that?
Yeah, what's the point?
We agree. We're in agreement with each other. Thank you.
Huh?
Is that okay?
But what's the point? What's the point that they are?
My point is, if you look at the integration movement, yeah, it didn't have the point was it didn't have a what was the contingency plan? If I ask you, what was the contingency plan?
For economically?
No, just what was the contingency plan with the civil rights movement? What was the contingency plan?
Government dependence.
And
more blaming and hating white people.
That's what the movement. That was the end result, wasn't it? That was the end result.
Right. It was the result, and it was the mode. It was what it was too.
In the first beginning, here's another misnomer that people think that the dependency started with LBJ and the welfare, but it started long before that.
I believe that.
Long before. Say that again.
I said I believe that.
Why you believe it?
Because look at the bailouts during the Great Depression and all that stuff.
What about before the Depression?
Before the Depression, they were forcing the beautiful South to do what the North wanted to do. They had Reconstruction. They wanted to institute their phony politicians in the South.
Well, they did not
even allow us to have slavery anymore. We couldn't even have our right to own slaves.
They couldn't have the right to own slaves.
Yeah.
Well, was that what it was about? The right to own slaves?
I mean, that was part of what happened with the attack on the South.
I hear Confederates say it wasn't about slavery.
Well, it wasn't entirely about slavery, but it was partly about they certainly violated the right to own slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically the government taking over and getting rid of your rights.
They even, I like I said, and matter of fact, what party was doing it at the time?
The Socialist Influenced Republican Party is what I heard.
Radical, what you heard? What you heard.
Mm-hmm.
Is it what you know or what you heard, brother?
It's what I heard. I don't know anything that happened back then. I wasn't there.
You don't read?
I read. It doesn't mean you read. You don't know. You don't know what you read, man.
What?
You don't know what you read. What you read doesn't mean you know it.
I don't even know what that means. I mean,
you're reading about something that happened. You don't know that it happened just because you read it.
So you don't know the Bible happened? Man, you know what?
No, I don't know I don't know what really happened with the Bible.
There you go. Well, okay. Well, at least you admit it.
Do you act like you know? You just came on here to just babble, or did you have a point?
I just made a couple of points, man.
You're in your 60s?
Yeah, I am.
Nice. So do you agree or disagree that the civil rights movement was evil?
I disagree. I disagree with the civil rights movement.
Yeah, it was evil, right?
Yeah, okay, if you want me to say evil, yeah.
I don't want you to say it. I want you to say what you think.
Well, I say no.
Obama's real father was Frank Marshall Davis.
Yeah, the commie.
Yeah. Not Marcus Garvey.
Not Garvey, no.
I confuse them.
Frank Marshall
They all
Davis.
look the same.
Okay. Well, we all look the same, don't we?
You probably look like me, Ron.
So what?
I say you probably look like me.
Hey, that's okay. I'm a handsome dude. You?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Take a look in the mirror, man. You make a decision.
Make a decision, huh? Okay.
You either ugly.
But Marcus Garvey was a Pan-Africanist according to Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, ooh, man.
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
And they're a reliable source. I read it on the internet.
That's a great, reliable source.
Yep.
Wikipedia. I can add stuff to Wikipedia.
I know, but it'll get rejected by your peers.
Be rejected by what?
By your peers, because I've added stuff on Wikipedia and it was rejected. Some of it was accepted.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
You okay with it?
Of course, I'm okay with it.
All right, good for you. Good for you. Good for you, brother.
So you're saying he was not a Pan-Africanist?
I think it was a made-up word by those that were against him.
Was he a Pan-Africanist or not?
Was he a Pan-Africanist? No. I'll say no.
Why not? He was not for all blacks around the world, being the same thing.
As economically uplifting, does that make you a Pan-Africanist? Is that the word they came over? So that defines a Pan-Africanist.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I just said it. Does it? I'm asking you a question. Does it?
So you don't even know what a Pan-Africanist is. So why are you denying that he was one?
I know what they said. I know what they say it is, but I don't agree with it.
Whatever, man. Do you have anything to say to this guy?
Nah.
Say what?
No.
I was asking Big Bump if he had anything to say to you.
Thanks for calling.
Appreciate your call, man. Call again sometime.
Sure you do. Say it again.
Call again sometime, Ron, in Tennessee.
Hey, let me ask you. Can you one more thing?
All right, because you're old.
I saw I think a YouTube video when Mr. Peterson was.
I gotta go, man. I'm not gonna talk about Jesse. But thank you for your call. We got to get to your stories, man. We're not going to get to anything. Hang tight, callers. We'll try to get to you. But a Big Bump is here, and he wanted to talk about the black Dylann Roof. Marcus, what's his name? Chenault? Is that how you say it?
I pronounce it Chenault.
Chenault.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Marcus Wayne Chenault was the killer. He was the murderer of Alberta King, which is Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. That was my correlation, a.k.a. Black Dylann Roof. Marcus Chenault murdered Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother in a church.
Wow.
At Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was actually Chenault's birthday. He turned...
This is a picture of him. He was a nerd.
Yeah, he went to Ohio State.
Sorry, kids. I shouldn't call him a nerd.
I think he was.
He had thick Coke bottle glasses.
Yeah. He looks nothing. I don't know. He looks so square right there.
Right. Wearing a collared shirt. We're looking at a picture of him, those of you on the audio feed. He has an afro, but a big forehead, a Hake forehead. And a smushy face. I don't know if that's accurate. There he is, looking like a nerd too.
Right.
So he shot and killed MLK's mother before or after MLK died?
After. This was in 1974.
Okay.
And it was the day he did it. It was his birthday, his 23rd birthday.
It was
Chenault's
20th
birthday.
So for his birthday, he went and murdered this woman.
Mm-hmm. I think 2 others also.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was
3
he
in total.
specifically targeting her?
No, he specifically targeted her husband, MLK Sr. But he was close when he was in the church. That's the closest person to him.
The mother.
Yeah, the mother.
She was kind of the first lady.
Yeah.
Was he the pastor at Ebenezer?
Yeah.
So the dad took over for MLK after MLK died?
I don't know how that happened. What that dynamic was specifically, but he was the pastor at the time.
Wow.
Ebenezer Church.
And was he? Okay, go on. I
No,
don't
go
want to
ahead.
interrupt.
No,
I was going to say, was he a Pan-Africanist?
No, he was a Black Hebrew Israelite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was.
Some of those Black Hebrew, so you got to watch out for some of them. Just like with everybody, really.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody angry?
So, and that's the thing. That guy right there is his leader at the time. His Hebrew Israelite.
This guy is a Hebrew Israelite.
Yeah, he was his teacher, leader.
His last name is Israel.
Israel, yeah, and I think they tend
black.
to do that. He's black. His name is Hananiah Israel, and that's.
I wonder if that's his born name. Did his parents name him with an Israelite name, or did he change it?
No, he changed it.
Okay.
It was something else. I did read it was something else.
It was like John Smith.
And that Hananiah is Hebrew for Shadrach. So he took that name from the Shadrach, Meshach, and
So this is the mentor of the killer, of the Black Dylann Roof.
Yeah. But he said, the Israel guy, he said his teachings are nonviolent.
Right.
I don't know if that was to get away from Chenault or not, but that's what he said. And the one thing that you just mentioned about him, Chenault was upset. This is the correlation with the Dylann Roof. Dylann Roof finding out that the statistics and information about the black on black crime or the white on black, black on white, all the statistics.
Yes.
That was wrong, and it infuriated, it angered him.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Chenault. Once he realized that the civil rights movement was taken over by, or was used, the black preachers would get more money, and what else did he say? Yeah, and would destroy the black community. That he didn't like that. He didn't like the black community being destroyed and the black preachers using the blacks.
Yeah.
That's where it triggered him he even wanted to kill his cousin that was a preacher.
Wow.
Whatever made him stop that. He was after Jesse Jackson, but the day of him going to Chicago, he didn't take the trip, and he stopped that plot or whatnot. But yeah, that's the correlation. That anger, as soon as he realized that, which was true,
right?
It's true. You know, the black preachers and the black community was going to go to the dumps with the civil rights movement,
right?
But that triggered him to be violent, to go that route.
Interesting.
That was that correlation that I saw immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had always, once I remembered or once I heard that this situation happened with the killing in church.
Yep.
And the Dylann Roof thing, I always was like, hey, I don't see the outcry still about MLK's mother,
right?
In
Chenault.
church. Yeah,
I didn't even know this story.
Yeah. So, and the Hebrew Israelite thing was, which took me down a whole different rabbit hole that that's something else. But that's where I was getting at, that he was ready and willing to do whatever at that point, because he was so caught up in that black preachers making money and black preachers taking over the community that they felt wasn't right. And I guess that was the teaching from the Hananiah Israel.
Oh,
gentleman. Yeah.
So they saw the civil rights leaders and the
Mm-hmm.
preachers who supported the so-called civil rights movement as traitors to the blacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's exactly what they thought. That's what they saw. Yeah.
So I know that Dylann Roof wanted a race war. Did this guy want? He felt like he was at war against the enemies of black people, which included blacks.
Which included blacks.
Primarily blacks. Those were his immediate enemies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He thought they were his friends.
Yeah.
Before that, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, he immediately supposedly the very first person on his list was his cousin that was a pastor.
Man. But he didn't kill. He didn't end up killing him.
No.
And did he get captured right after killing Alberta? Was it Alberta King?
I think it was that. If I'm not mistaken, it was the same day.
Okay.
I think the church congregation helped out.
They subdued
with that.
him.
Yeah.
So he killed 3 people.
3 people: Alberta King, a deacon, and one other person.
Wow.
Was, at the church. And
did the cops take him to Burger King to get hamburgers? Did he surrender peacefully?
I didn't read in detail if that was the case.
He survived though.
This guy he didn't.
He was
die.
Sentenced to death, but he did not. I read that he died of old age or something.
Yeah, the Kings, which they typically do, because they also did it with who did they say killed
MLK's assassin?
Yeah.
I forget.
Jeez, I can't remember his name right now. Well, they tend to go the forgive route of, whatever. We forgive him, basically. So they did that also. That's why he wasn't.
Oh, they forgave him.
Yeah. So
James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray, right. So they did the same thing with James Earl Ray that they did with Chenault, with Marcus Chenault.
They pretended to forgive him.
Yeah. And there was also...
How can you not forgive a face like that?
Look at him.
He looks like a pre-gremlin. Kind of a cute face, sort of.
That looks so young right there, like the Trayvon Martin type picture where they're showing him young. Yeah. There was something else you said that reminded me. Man, I can't even remember this now. It was something else that popped up in my mind. But yeah, that's the Black Dylann Roof. He's the radicalized for sure.
Yeah.
With, like I said, the point of him seeing that was the case and that it was true.
Right.
But now you overreacted to the actual situation. Yeah.
And he bought into other lies, apparently, because I don't know if he's a real Israelite. I don't buy your black Hebrew Israelite stuff, Israelites.
Hey, so a side note.
Yeah.
About the black Hebrew Israelites, that the founder of the Hebrew Israelites, he said that the Earth was square. This is just a little side.
Oh,
note.
really?
Yeah, and that was like, and people actually followed this, you know. So that was something that was a little off to me, you know. But that was just a sidebar.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the flat Earth, the square Earth. So just another.
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah.
You know what, man? We have like 1 minute. Do you want to quickly cover this Wells Fargo story? Or should we save it for next time? We can do this. Let's cover this Wells Fargo story real fast.
Okay.
Wells Fargo is kissing up to the minorities. What's new? I saw this headline that Bigg Bump sent to me. Wells Fargo cutting back on mortgages will focus on lending to minorities. What's going on?
Like you say, the kissing up to blacks. It's the George Floyd reaction, trickle down effect. But
yeah,
you know, they're just trying to appease.
Yep.
But they're just doing the same thing. They're trying to get rid of a risk, but now they'll be taking more of a risk. Like you said, in 2007 to 2008,
right,
housing bubble, it's just going to reoccur. You know, these people aren't, and it's specifically people of color is what they say in here. And
whites are seemingly like starting to do worse than ever, aren't they? Aren't there like a lot of problems with the whites now?
Yeah, yes, there are.
And they're getting thrown under the bus.
they're gonna get it just because of the hate. You know.
That's discrimination. Aren't they not supposed to be able to discriminate?
You'd think, nah, but
I mean, I support discrimination.
Right, yeah.
But
yeah,
they're not supposed, like by law, you're not supposed to discriminate.
By law, you're not supposed to. Yeah, but
or give special treatment.
But they're going to.
Yeah,
and they're going to let it be known that they want that to happen.
Yeah,
and if again, like it's been said, that if no one stands up and speaks out for it, it's just going to continue.
Yeah,
and it's just going to destroy the country even more.
Man, that's terrible.
Yeah. It's an ugly situation. And I don't know, they're just preparing their bed and they have to lay in it. Because this is not helping. It's not even helping.
I know.
The sense of helping is not even helping because you're just enabling.
Right.
You know, Somali mentality. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great church service yesterday. I don't know. Did you happen to catch it?
Yeah.
About helping in time of emergency.
Right. Yeah.
God doesn't help us in time of emergency.
Yeah. When we're having an emergency, right?
Yeah. There is no emergency.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, and like these people, if they haven't gone out to try to get a home,
right?
Why are you trying to help them anyway?
Yeah.
That's another aspect of it. So yeah, that's it's just not going to be fruitful.
Right.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Destroy. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bigg Bump. This has been the Hake Report. Bigg Bump on BIGGBUMP.
Yes, sir.
On what do you want to promote the most in order of your preference that they follow you?
Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'll just say those three right now.
All right. SoundCloud?
Yeah. SoundCloud. Oh. SoundCloud. I'm on Truth Social.
Nice.
Yeah. All those. And it's the same all the way around. BIGGBUMP.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll have to cover, you gave us a John Wayne clip.
Oh, yeah.
That we'll have to cover next time.
Yeah.
That's an evergreen clip. So
yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
Here is last song from Bigg Bump today. This is Little Miss Sunshine by Bigg Bump and Z, also known as Little Miss Sunshine, right?
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy, guys. Adios, America. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. And I'll have Joel Friday with me.
Nice.
And we're going to try Alpha Jerky on air. I'm with a couple of non beef eaters
right
today. So we'll have to do it tomorrow with Joel Friday on Tuesday. Thanks, guys. Little Miss Sunshine from Bigg Bump. Take care.
This for you, Z. Here you go.
Just different, epic.
The apple of my eye, damn near cry every time I see your face. This feeling don't wanna erase or replace that really can't be left unsaid. In a night exchange, I love you and kiss her forehead.
I love you, Daddy.
And Daddy loves you too. Now rest your head, my princess, and say your prayers too. Can't be overprotective, but who can blame me? Show her the ways of the world. Go ahead and judge me. Tell her to question everything. Never be a follower. If she doesn't, guarantee this world will somehow swallow her. But as long as I'm alive, I'ma give her guidance and be an oracle, teach her morals and be a Morpheus.
Dad, I need to ask
Okay,
you
I'm
a
listening.
question. What's the meaning of life? Why did God put us here?
I'm sitting here like, damn, she's only 7. How could someone so young be so introspective? The brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. She's my little Miss Sunshine. Yo, the brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. Nah, cause she's my little Miss Sunshine. My Sherry Amour, hold up. Just recording this track gets me all choked up. My Sherry Amour illuminates the darkest night. My little Miss Sunshine, my guiding light, she shines.
Shine bright like a diamond.
And little does she know that I'm her biggest fan. Enjoys the spotlight, even the awkward stare. She loves to entertain and doesn't even care. Can't be plunging at times, I'm like, what's up with that? Sour 1 minute, sweet the next, my little sour patch. Hurt the wildest coats, make the best horses. My beautiful caterpillar, metamorphosis. A piece of heaven on earth, beautiful and innocent. That unconditional love, matter the sentiment. Take a step back to reflect on this miracle. And God only knows why he put her here. Yo, the brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. She's my little Miss Sunshine. Yo, the brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. Nah, cause she's my little Miss Sunshine. Before you were born, I wanted a little boy. And on that video, I might have sounded a little devoid. Was thinking, or I really wasn't thinking at all. Cause for the past 7 years I've been overjoyed. Only concern now is I don't let you down as a father. My biggest accomplishment in life is so glad you're a part of my life, ups and downs like the next man. But the next man don't have you as a kickstand. And no, that doesn't mean that I be leaning on you. Oh no, I need you more than words could ever show. My other half right with me throughout all life's changes. And for that reason alone, she's more than amazing. The brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. She's my little Miss Sunshine. Yo, the brightest star in the universe is where, yo, it's right here on planet Earth. Okay, nothing compares to this ray of light. Nah, cause she's my little Miss Sunshine.
It's just